The metallic tang of sweat and plasma drifted through the training field. Under the pale sun of Fort Jericho, 100 recruits moved as one, boots pounding the dirt in perfect rhythm, plasma rifles rising and falling like extensions of their arms. Drill sergeants paced the lines with predator eyes, barking corrections that cracked across the air like gunfire. Private Nia Carter was out of sync. Her combat boots skidded on loose gravel as she swung her rifle up a fraction too late. Her pulse thudded in her ears. She squeezed the trigger. The bolt of energy sizzled past the edge of the target, searing the air with a smell of ozone. "Missed again," a voice sneered 2 ranks over. Laughter rippled through the squad. Nia ignored it. Her eyes stayed fixed on the charred metal silhouette ahead as she reloaded. Her gloved fingers trembled slightly on the charging handle. "Reset and fire, Carter." Drill Sergeant Hawkins' voice was a low growl, heavy with disappointment. "Or I swear I'll have your ass cleaning the trees for a month." "Yes, Sergeant," Nia barked back. Her throat felt tight. She bit down the frustration rising in her chest, forcing her breathing steady. This wasn't the time to lose control. Behind her, a recruit with sun-bleached hair and a smirk on his face leaned close enough for his whisper to carry. "Guess we know why they brought her in. Quotas or charity." Another recruit chuckled. "Probably thought a black woman in the Corps would make good propaganda. Too bad she can't shoot worth a damn." The laughter swelled again. Nia set her jaw and raised her rifle. This time her shot hit the target dead center, but the laughter didn't stop. Later, in the barracks, the whispering continued. "She's a joke, slower than molasses. 5-to-1 she washes out by the gauntlet. Did you see her file? Says genetic anomaly. Probably means she's got weak bones or some autoimmune crap." Nia sat on her narrow cot, staring at her boots. Her hands rested in her lap, still gloved. She flexed her fingers, feeling the faint pulse beneath her skin, the one she'd been hiding her entire life. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory, sharp and terrified. "Never show them, Nia. Never let them see. If they know, they'll come for you." She curled her hands into fists. She wouldn't let anyone come for her. Not here, not now. The next morning was worse. During close quarters drills, Reeve, her blonde tormentor, shoved her hard enough to send her sprawling onto the mat. "Watch your balance, Carter," he jeered, as the others snickered. She climbed back to her feet without a word. He wanted a reaction, and she refused to give him one. But as she squared up again, his grin widened. "Should have stayed in the kitchens, or wherever you people belong." A red haze flared at the edges of her vision. Her muscles tensed in a way that wasn't entirely her own. For a heartbeat, she felt the familiar thrum in her palms, the heat, the power, but she smothered it. She wouldn't let it out. Not here. The drill sergeant's whistle blew. The session ended, but the tension didn't. That night, as she lay staring at the ceiling, a shadow passed by the open doorway. Heavy boots approached, the sound deliberate and even. Colonel Marcus Vey stepped into the barracks. The recruits shot up to attention, conversations dying mid-sentence. "Rest," Vey ordered. His voice was low but carried a weight that filled the room. He was a legend, a man with enough scars to map a war and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. As he walked the rows of bunks, his gaze swept over each recruit until it landed on Nia. "You," he said. "Private Carter, stand up." She obeyed, her heart pounding. "You're from Colony 9, aren't you?" "Yes, sir." "Your records show inconsistencies." His eyes narrowed. "Take off your gloves." A ripple went through the room. Reeves smirked. "Gonna check her manicure, Colonel?" They shot him a look that shut him up instantly. "Gloves, Carter, now." Nia's fingers hesitated at the cuffs. She could feel her pulse hammering against the thin material. "Do it," they said, his voice softer now. She peeled them away, exposing smooth, dark skin, and on her right palm, faint lines began to glow. A spiral sigil flickered to life, pulsing like a heartbeat. The barracks went dead silent. Someone whispered, "She's a mutant." The colonel didn't flinch. His voice was calm and cold. "That's not just any mark. That's the sign." Reeves staggered back. "No way. That's..." They're extinct. She's one of them? Vei's gaze swept over the room like a blade. Extinct? No. Hunted, betrayed, forgotten, but not gone. And if any of you have a problem with that, his hand dropped to the pistol at his hip, you're free to step outside and say it to me. No one moved. Nia stood frozen, her exposed palm still glowing faintly. She felt every pair of eyes on her, no longer mocking, but wide with fear. The colonel turned back to her. You've hidden this well, Private, but you won't hide it anymore. Not in my corps. He leaned in slightly. His voice was barely above a whisper. You're not a liability. You're a weapon. Don't forget that. The morning air was razor-sharp, laced with a scent of ozone and scorched earth. A low fog clung to the training grounds as the recruits assembled in full combat gear, boots pounding in ragged unison. Ahead of them loomed the gauntlet, a twisting labyrinth of steel walls, electrified grids, live plasma turrets, and combat drones armed with enough firepower to maim. The air buzzed with nervous energy. Even the seasoned sergeants kept their voices lower than usual, their eyes darting toward the massive gate where so many trainees had failed before. Colonel Marcus Vey stood at the edge of the field, his posture like a statue carved from granite. His silver hair caught the first hints of sunrise, eyes cold as a sniper's scope. "Listen up," he barked. "The gauntlet is not an obstacle course. It's not a test. It's war compressed into 20 brutal minutes. You don't complete it, you don't stay in my corps. Simple as that." The recruits shifted uneasily. Nia Carter kept her face impassive, though her heart thudded so violently she wondered if the others could hear it. Vei's gaze swept the formation, lingering a half-second too long on her. You'll face drones programmed to kill, traps designed to punish hesitation, and terrain that will exploit every weakness. Survive, and I earn my respect. Fail, and you go home. Or worse. His boots crunched on gravel as he turned away. "First group, step forward." 3 recruits entered the gauntlet. The heavy gates clanged shut behind them with a sound like finality. A moment later, the first screams echoed from within. Plasma fire lit the fog in violent flashes. A drone's mechanical screech cut through the air, followed by silence. The gates reopened. 2 recruits stumbled out bloodied, supported by medics. The third didn't come out at all. The line shifted forward. Nia felt the eyes on her. "She won't last 5 minutes," Reeve whispered behind her, loud enough for others to hear. "Maybe they'll send her in last so they can save cleanup time." A few snickers followed, but there was an edge to the laughter now, something sharper than mockery. Fear. "Next," Hawkins barked. More recruits entered. The cycle repeated. Screams, flashes of light, bodies dragged out. Nia's name was called. She stepped forward, her boots heavy against the dirt. "Carter," Vey said, his voice low enough only she could hear as she passed him. "Don't hold back." Her stomach clenched. She gave a sharp nod and walked on. The gates closed behind her. Inside, the world became a maze of narrow corridors and shifting walls. The air smelled of burned metal. A faint hum vibrated through the floor like a living heartbeat. She kept low, plasma rifle at the ready. The first drone attacked without warning, a blur of steel and red optics leaping from the ceiling. Nia fired instinctively. The bolt grazed its side, slowing it just enough for her to dive aside as it returned fire. The drone's plasma bolt seared past her shoulder, heat licking her skin. She rolled, aimed, and fired again. The shot took the drone's head clean off. Her chest heaved. The mark on her palm pulsed faintly beneath her glove. She tightened her fist. Not yet. She pressed on. A section of floor collapsed without warning. She barely caught the ledge, her boots dangling over a pit of electrified spikes. With a grunt, she hauled herself up, muscles screaming. Around the next corner, 2 drones flanked her. She dove for cover as bolts tore into the wall behind her. Her mind screamed fight, but her body shifted into something else. Movements faster, sharper, vision narrowing to pinpoint focus. She felt it, the power uncoiling in her veins, ancient and terrifying. Her heart synced with the glowing pulse in her palm. She stood. The drones fired. She moved before they pulled their triggers, a blur, a shadow. Their plasma bolts sizzled against empty air. She crossed the space between them in a heartbeat and slammed her palm against the first drone. A burst of energy surged out, golden, searing.
The drone convulsed and crumpled. The second fired point blank. She twisted, the bolt grazing her shoulder, then seized the drone by its neck and wrenched. Metal screamed as it tore apart in her hands. Her breath came ragged. The glow from her palm didn't fade this time. It spread faintly across her veins, tiny golden filaments threading up her arm for him. She didn't stop. The gauntlet threw everything at her, tripwires, turrets, shifting walls, but Nia was no longer just surviving. She was moving like she had been born in this hell. Her boots barely touched the ground as she vaulted over traps, her rifle firing with surgical precision. The last drone came at her, larger than the rest, armored like a tank. She ducked under its swing and slammed both palms against its core. The mark flared blinding gold. The drone exploded outward in a shower of molten metal. Silence followed. The final door slid open with a hiss of surrender. Nia stepped through, her uniform scorched, her gloves burned away, and her right hand still faintly glowing. Outside, the entire platoon was silent. Reeves' smirk had vanished. His face was pale, eyes wide. The other recruits stared as if seeing her for the first time, not with derision, but with something heavier, fear. Colonel Vey's lips curved in the faintest hint of a smile. "Private Carter," he said, his voice carrying across the field, "congratulations! You've completed the gauntlet in record time." He glanced at the others. "And for those of you laughing yesterday, remember this day. Remember what you saw. That's not weakness. That's survival. That's what wins wars." He turned back to Nia, his eyes hard. "Report to my office at 600 hours. We need to talk about what you really are." Nia straightened, her shoulders square despite the burn in her muscles. "Yes, sir." As she marched back to the barracks, she could still feel the golden thrum in her blood. For the first time in her life, she didn't hide it.
The office was dimly lit, its walls lined with relics of wars long past, cracked helmets, faded flags, plasma blades dulled with age. At the center of it all sat Colonel Marcus Vey, his broad hands folded over a stack of classified files. "Private Carter," he said without looking up. "Close the door." Nia obeyed, the metallic click of the latch loud in the quiet room. She stood at attention, though her mind still reeled from the gauntlet. The glowing mark on her palm had finally faded, but she swore she could feel it under her skin, like a second heartbeat. Vey finally lifted his eyes to her, steel gray and sharp enough to cut. "Sit." She hesitated before lowering herself into the chair opposite him, back straight, fists resting in her lap. "Do you know why I asked you here?" "Because I survived the gauntlet. Plenty survive. Few tear through it the way you did." He leaned back slightly, his chair creaking. "No, Carter. I called you here because I've been waiting for someone like you." Nia frowned. "Someone like me, sir." "Someone carrying the old blood." They opened the folder on his desk, turning it so she could see. A grainy photograph stared back at her. A black woman with golden eyes standing amid ruins, her glowing hands raised as drones and soldiers fell around her. "Do you know who this is?" Nia shook her head. "Her name was Lieutenant Sarah Vance. She was a mutant, one of the last. She died 22 years ago during the Purge." "The Purge? That's just a myth. Mutants went extinct centuries ago." "That's the official story. The truth is, after the first collapse, humanity turned on its own saviors. The governments feared their power, their unpredictability, so they hunted them down, killed them, or forced them underground." He leaned forward, his voice dropping. "But some survived. Fewer still passed their gifts on. You're proof of that." Nia looked away. I didn't ask for this." "No one ever does," Faye said softly. He stood, pacing to the window overlooking the training fields where recruits moved like ants below. "You've been hiding it all your life, haven't you? The reflexes, the strength, the visions?" Her fingers tightened over her knees. "You don't know what it's like. Every time someone notices, they look at me like I'm an animal or a weapon." "You are a weapon." She looked up sharply. "You can be forged into something stronger than any soldier out there, but only if you stop hiding." "Why? Why now?
Why me?" Vei's eyes hardened. "Because war is coming. Real war, not skirmishes with rogue drones or pirate fleets. I'm talking full-scale conflict with the Zenith Syndicate. And if they deploy their enhanced units, the Corps won't stand a chance unless we fight fire with fire." "Enhanced units?" "Mutants," they said grimly. "On their side." Silence stretched between them. Nia's thoughts churned. She remembered her mother's warnings, her father's shadowy absence, the childhood nights spent wondering why she wasn't like other kids. "You're saying I'm some kind of legacy project?" she said finally. "I'm saying you're the future of the Corps." He returned to his chair, pulling a small data chip from his pocket and sliding it across the desk. "Take this. It contains the location of Echo Company, off books, only for operatives like you. There, you'll receive training tailored to your talents." Nia stared at the chip. "You're not ordering me?" "No," they said. "I'm offering you a choice. Stay here, finish out your standard training, try to blend in, or embrace what you are and join a war that will decide humanity's survival." The weight of the decision pressed on her chest. She thought of the platoon's sneers, of Reeves' laughter, of the terror in their eyes after the gauntlet. "What if I say no?" They's face was unreadable. "Then you'll stay here. You'll still be a soldier, but you'll never stop being hunted, not by the enemy, and not by your own brothers in arms." He leaned forward, his voice soft but unyielding. "Embrace the mark, Carter, or it will consume you." Later, in her bunk, Nia held the data chip between her fingers. The barracks was quiet. Too quiet. She could feel the weight of a dozen eyes stealing glances her way when they thought she wasn't looking. Reeves' voice broke the silence. "Hey, mutant, don't think that mark makes you special. You're still just a freak." She said nothing. The golden filaments beneath her skin pulsed faintly in response. In the morning, she was gone. Only they noticed the empty bunk and allowed himself a thin, satisfied smile.
The dropship cut through low clouds like a knife, its engines humming deep in Nia's chest. Outside the reinforced viewport, mountains rose in jagged black silhouettes, their peaks lost in a churning gray sky. Somewhere down there, hidden from satellites and scanners, was Echo Company. She tightened her grip on the seat harness as the ship began its descent. The hum of the engines shifted to a throaty roar. "This place isn't on any map," the pilot said over his shoulder, voice muffled through his helmet. "Hell, I couldn't even tell you where we are. They wipe my coordinates after every trip." Nia didn't answer. She wasn't here to make conversation. She was here because Colonel Vey had told her she had no future unless she embraced what she was. The thought made her stomach twist. As the dropship's landing skids met solid ground with a jarring thud, Nia caught her first glimpse of the base through the viewport. Echo Company wasn't a barracks. It wasn't even a military installation in the traditional sense. It looked like a fortress carved into the side of the mountain, its entrance a yawning metal maw, flanked by sentry turrets and guards in matte black armor. "Welcome to the freak show," the pilot muttered as the hatch hissed open. Nia stepped out into cold air sharp enough to sting her lungs. Her boots crunched on frost-covered gravel. Two guards approached, their rifles lowered but not slung. "Private Nia Carter?" "Yes, follow us." They led her through the massive entryway, the heavy doors grinding shut behind them. Inside, the air was warmer, but carried the faint scent of oil and ozone. The corridors were wider than standard military halls, the ceilings reinforced with layers of alloy plating. She passed soldiers in black fatigues, some with visible augments, glowing circuitry spiderwebbing under their skin, eyes like molten silver. They stared at her as she walked past, some with curiosity, others with open disdain. The guards stopped outside a pair of blast doors etched with an unfamiliar emblem, a spiral within a triangle. "She's waiting," one said, and the doors rumbled open. The room beyond was circular, lit by a ring of overhead lights. At its center stood a tall woman with ash-white hair braided tight against her scalp. Her arms were folded over a chest plate marked with the same spiral insignia. Her golden eyes fixed on Nia like twin suns. "You're late," she said. Nia stiffened. "I wasn't given a timetable." "Your mutant blood you should have known."
Kale stepped closer, her presence radiating authority. "I'm Commander Kale. I lead Echo Company. From this moment on, you're mine." Kale circled her slowly, eyes scanning her posture, her breathing, the famous twitch of muscles beneath her uniform. "I can smell the power in you, but it's raw, untamed, dangerous. You've been hiding it, haven't you?" "Yes." Kale's lip curled. Typical. She clapped her hands sharply, the lights dimmed, and from the shadows, figures emerged. 4 soldiers, each marked by glowing sigils on their skin. One had burning red glyphs spiraling up his forearm. Another's veins glowed like liquid sapphire. "Meet your new squad," Kale said. "They're like you, or at least what you could be if you survive training." The red-glyphed man smirked. "Another half-blood. Cute." Nia tensed. "Half-blood?" "Means you're untested," Kale explained. "Your mutant genes are dormant, weak, until we rip them open." The floor beneath Nia shifted suddenly, and a section of the room descended like an elevator. Kale stepped onto it without hesitation. "Coming?" Nia followed. They descended into darkness before the platform stopped with a jolt. Ahead, the cavern opened into a vast training arena. Walls were lined with observation decks. Combat drones hung dormant in racks. The air thrummed faintly with energy. "This is where we separate survivors from corpses." She nodded to the others. "Show her what she's in for." The red-glyphed soldier moved first, his palms igniting in a burst of flame. He sprinted forward, moving faster than humanly possible. A drone activated, firing plasma bolts, but he spun and sent a whip of fire crashing into it, melting its core in seconds. The sapphire-veined woman leapt next, her body shimmering as bullets ricocheted off a translucent energy shield that blossomed around her. She moved like a wraith, her strikes shattering drone after drone. By the time they finished, the arena was littered with smoking wreckage. Kale turned to Nia. "Your turn." Nia stepped forward slowly. Her palms tingled faintly, the familiar thrum rising in her blood. But she forced it down. "I'm not ready." "Neither were they," Kale replied. "You learn by doing, or you die trying." A drone dropped from the ceiling, its red optics flashing to life. It charged. Instinct screamed at Nia to dodge, but the world felt too fast. The drone fired. She rolled, but the bolt grazed her shoulder. Pain seared her nerves. "Fight, damn it!" Kale roared. Nia felt it then, the mark on her palm flaring to life, golden light threaded up her arm. Her breath caught. The drone lunged. This time she didn't dodge. She caught its strike in one glowing hand, muscles straining as she forced it back. Her other palm slammed into its chest. A shockwave burst from her skin, sending the drone flying in pieces. Silence. Kale's golden eyes glittered. "Not bad for a first try. But next time, don't hesitate. Hesitation kills." As Nia stood in the wreckage, her breath ragged, the others regarded her with new expressions, not mockery this time, but wary respect. Kale clapped a hand on her shoulder. "Welcome to Echo Company, Carter. Your real training begins tomorrow. Pray you survive it."
The alarm screamed before dawn. Red light strobed through the barracks as a klaxon echoed off steel walls. "Get up, now!" Kale's voice cut through the haze like a blade. Nia bolted upright, heart hammering. Her squad mates were already on their feet, pulling on armor, strapping weapons to their backs with movements honed by months, years of this routine. She scrambled to keep pace, fumbling with the new combat suit issued last night. The black polymer clung to her skin like a second layer, its seams glowing faintly where it interfaced with her mark. "You'll move faster in it," Kale had said, "assuming you survive long enough to learn how." The squad filed into the main training arena. The air was thick with smoke and heat, the floor scored with burn marks from earlier drills. Combat drones hovered in the shadows, their red optics blinking like watchful eyes. Kale stood at the center, her white hair pulled back in a tight braid, golden eyes sweeping over the squad. "Today is your baptism. Echo Company doesn't waste time coddling half-bloods. You either adapt or you die." Her gaze lingered on Nia. "Pair up. You'll fight each other to the brink. No rules, only survival." Before Nia could react, the red-glyphed soldier, Rafe, stepped forward with a smirk. "I'll take the rookie," he said, flames already licking his knuckles. "Fine. Try not to incinerate her. We're short on replacements." The squad spread out, leaving Nia and Rafe in the center circle. The floor lights flared to life, outlining their arena. Rafe cracked his neck, his grin widening. "Don't worry, Carter. I'll make it quick." Nia's palms tingled, heat rising in her veins. She forced her breathing steady, eyes locked on his stance. Rafe struck first. A whip of fire lashed towards her. She dove sideways, rolling to her feet as the heat seared past her face. Her suit's sensors screamed warnings in her ears. "Too slow," Rafe taunted, his next strike already coming. This time, she caught it with her palm. The heat burned, but the mark on her skin flared, absorbing the energy like a sponge. Gold light pulsed up her arm. Rafe's smirk faltered. "Cute trick." He launched himself forward, fists blazing. Nia dodged, countering with a burst of golden energy that sent him staggering back. The arena floor cracked under the force. Around them, the squad began to murmur. Not bad for a first-timer. She's holding her own. Or she's about to get flattened. Rafe roared, flames engulfing his entire body. He became a living inferno, the heat so intense that it warped the air. Nia felt an instinct screaming, "Run, hide, survive." But Kale's words echoed in her mind. Hesitation kills. She stepped forward instead. The mark on her palm burned like a brand as gold tendrils flared across her body. Energy surged, wrapping her in a shimmering shield. Rafe's strike met her open hand. For a split second, the flames roared higher, then snuffed out as her shield flared, detonating outward in a shockwave. Rafe hit the ground hard, his flames extinguished. Silence filled the arena. Kale strode forward, her boots echoing. She looked down at Rafe, then at Nia. "Not perfect, but better than expected." She turned to the rest of the squad. "This is what happens when you stop holding back." The day didn't end there. Nia was thrown into drill after drill, marksmanship, close quarters combat, neural reflex training. Every failure was punished with searing pain as her suit administered electric shocks to force muscle memory. By nightfall, she was drenched in sweat, muscles trembling with exhaustion. Her palms still glowed faintly, the energy within her refusing to settle. After the final exercise, Kale called her aside. "You're progressing faster than I anticipated, but you're still untested." "Untested how?" Nia asked, breathless. Kale handed her a datapad. On it was a holographic image of a man in black armor, his face obscured by a rune etched with runes. Codename Revenant, Zenith Syndicate's lead operative in this sector. Full mutant, lethal. He's been targeting core installations for months. Echo Company's next mission is to eliminate him. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're going with us." Kale's golden eyes bored into her. "And because Revenant isn't just any mutant. Intelligence suggests he's hunting half-bloods like you." That night, Nia lay awake in her bunk. The image of Revenant burned in her mind. She remembered flashes from her childhood, hidden rooms, her mother's urgent whispers, her father's silhouette against a glowing doorway. Don't let them find you. But they had. And now, she was going to war.
The dropship cut low through storm-black skies, its engines howling against the wind. Inside the cabin, Echo Company sat strapped into their seats, faces lit by the dim green glow of the tactical display. Nia's fingers drummed against her rifle. She tried to ignore the tightness in her chest, the low hum of energy that hadn't left her since the training arena. "Target confirmed," Kale said from the front, her voice calm as ever. "Zenith forward base. Minimal defenses, on paper. Expect drones, traps, and Revenant." The name hung heavy in the air. Even Rafe was uncharacteristically silent, his hands flexing, flames dancing faintly across his knuckles. As the dropship's side ramp lowered, cold rain slammed into Nia's face. She followed the squad out into the night, boots sinking into wet mud. Ahead, the Zenith base crouched against the hillside, all black metal and jagged angles. Red lights blinked like watching eyes. "Standard breach formation," Cale ordered. "Carter, stay center, don't lag." Nia nodded, tightening her grip on her weapon. Her pulse thudded in her ears. The squad advanced. A sentry drone swooped down from the darkness, twin plasma cannons blazing. Sapphire threw up her shield, deflecting the bolts, as Rafe countered with a column of fire that seared the drone's optics. It spiraled down in flames. "Clean. Move." They reached the perimeter fence. Cale raised a hand, and Azure leapt forward, his arms crackling with bioelectric energy. He slammed his palms into the fence, overloading its circuits in a burst of sparks. "Go." Echo Company poured through the breach. Inside the base, the halls were eerily quiet. Too quiet. "This feels wrong," Nia murmured. "You're not wrong," Cale replied. "Keep your eyes open." The first ambush came without warning. Turrets dropped from hidden ceiling panels, spewing plasma fire. Rafe and Sapphire reacted instantly, fire and shield in tandem, as Azure darted ahead, frying the turret's circuits with a pulse of energy. It spiraled down in flames. "Clean. Move." They reached the perimeter fence. Cale raised a hand, and Azure leapt forward, his arms crackling with bioelectric energy. He slammed his palms into the fence, overloading its circuits in a burst of sparks. "Go." Echo Company poured through the breach. Inside the base, the halls were eerily quiet. Too quiet. "This feels wrong," Nia murmured. "You're not wrong," Cale replied. "Keep your eyes open." The first ambush came without warning. Turrets dropped from hidden ceiling panels, spewing plasma fire. Rafe and Sapphire reacted instantly, fire and shield in tandem, as Azure darted ahead, frying the turret circuits with a pulse of energy. It spiraled down in flames. "Clean. Move." They pressed deeper into the base. The corridors narrowed, lights flickering. A low hum vibrated through the walls, like a distant heartbeat. "Feels like a trap," Sapphire murmured. "Everything is a trap," Cale replied. Then, the lights went out. Total darkness swallowed them. Only the faint glow of their mutant marks illuminated the space. And then they heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Echoing in the silence. A voice followed. Smooth, cold, with an edge like a blade. "You've come far, little soldiers." Nia's breath caught. The voice felt familiar. A tall figure emerged from the shadows, armor black as night, runes glowing blood red across its surface. The mask he wore was carved with spirals and jagged lines. "Revenant," Cale said, her tone flat. "Cale," Revenant replied, "still training children to die in my halls." Cale didn't flinch. "This ends tonight." The fight erupted instantly. Rafe unleashed a torrent of flames. Revenant moved faster than thought, sidestepping and striking with a blade of pure energy that knocked Rafe into a wall. Sapphire raised her shield, but Revenant's second strike shattered it like glass. Azure darted in, hands crackling, but Revenant caught him by the throat and hurled him across the corridor. Only Cale remained standing, golden light blazing from her fists. She met Revenant's strike with her own, the impact sending shockwaves that cracked the walls. "Carter," Cale barked, "flank him." Nia hesitated. Her mark pulsed wildly, golden veins threading up her arms. The energy wanted out. "Don't hold back." She sprinted forward, her hands blazing. Revenant turned, his masked gaze locking on her. "Well," he said, "the stray awakens." He moved to strike, but Nia's palm connected with his chest. The golden light exploded, throwing them both back in opposite directions. Smoke filled the corridor. When it cleared, Revenant was gone.
Only his voice lingered, echoing through the halls. "We'll meet again, child. Blood calls to blood." Kale pulled herself to her feet, eyes narrowing as she studied Nia. Not bad for a rookie, but her tone was tight, guarded. Rafe limped over, glaring. "She nearly got us all killed." "She also drove him off," Sapphire countered. "Enough," Kale snapped. "This isn't over. Everyone fall back. Carter, you're with me." Back at the dropship, Nia sat in silence, staring at her glowing hands. "Revenant knew me." Kale didn't answer for a long moment. "Not you. Your bloodline." And for the first time, Nia realized what Vey had meant. She wasn't fighting for survival anymore. She was part of something older, deeper, a war, written in her very DNA.
The rain hammered against the dropship's hull as it carved a path through turbulent clouds. Inside, the air was heavy with silence. Rafe nursed a bruised shoulder. Sapphire sat cross-legged with her shield emitter in pieces on her lap, and Azure stared blankly at the floor. Nia's hands still glowed faintly, golden filaments threading up her arms. She clenched her fists, willing the energy to settle, but it pulsed stubbornly, responding not to her mind, but to something deeper, something primal. Kale watched her from across the cabin, her golden eyes unreadable. When the ship touched down at Echo Company's base, Nia barely waited for the ramp to lower before she leapt down into the mud. "Carter!" Kale's voice followed her. "Stand down! That's an order!" Nia ignored her, storming across the courtyard into the barracks. She slammed the door behind her, leaning against it as her breath came fast and shallow. She didn't hear Kale enter until the commander's boots were right behind her. "You're losing control," Kale said calmly. Nia spun. "He knew me, Revenant. He called me child, like he knew my family." Kale's expression didn't change. "He did. You knew too, didn't you? All this time. Who is he? What is he to me?" Kale folded her arms, her armor plates creaking. "You think you're ready for that answer?" "I don't care. I want the truth." Kale regarded her for a long moment, then spoke. "Revenant is your father." The words hit harder than any blow. Nia staggered back, shaking her head. "That's not possible. My father, he died before I was born. That's what my mother told me." "Your mother lied. To protect you." Kale's voice was quiet now, almost gentle. "Revenant wasn't always what he is. Once he was a soldier like us, a hero of the first collapse. But he saw too much, lost too much. When the purge began, he turned on the Corps. He believed mutants should rule, not hide." Nia's stomach twisted. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. "Because I needed you focused on survival, not family drama." Kale stepped closer, her golden eyes hardening. "Listen to me. Whatever he was, Revenant is our enemy now. If you hesitate when the time comes, he'll kill you and everyone else here." Before Nia could reply, alarms blared through the base. Red lights flashed along the corridor. Kale's hand went to her earpiece. "Report!" A voice crackled through. "Zenith strike team inbound. Multiple contacts. They've breached perimeter defenses." Kale turned back to Nia. "Looks like you won't get time to process. Suit up." Minutes later, Nia ran alongside her squad through rain-slicked trenches as explosions lit the night sky. The base's outer walls were under siege. Black-armored Zenith soldiers poured through the breach, their augments glowing crimson in the dark. "Carter, flank left!" Kale barked. Nia obeyed, her rifle spitting plasma bolts that cut down 2 enemy drones. Her mark pulsed hotter with every shot, golden tendrils snaking up her neck now. Suddenly, she felt it. Pressure in her skull, like hands trying to crack it open from the inside. A voice echoed in her mind. "Nia! My child!"
She froze. Across the battlefield, a tall figure emerged from smoke and fire. Revenant. His mask glowed red in the dark as his gaze locked on her. "Stand down, Echo Company. This is between me and the girl." "Keep fighting!" Kale roared. She charged forward, blades of golden light flaring from her wrists, but Revenant swept a hand through the air and a shockwave hurled her back into a wall. Nia's knees threatened to buckle. Her chest burned as the golden energy within her spiraled out of control. Sparks danced off her fingers, the air shimmering with heat. "You feel it, don't you?" Revenant's voice rang in her skull. "The power in your blood, the cage they built around it cracking open?" The battlefield dissolved in her vision. She saw flashes, her mother's face, tear-streaked and terrified. A hidden room, her father standing over her crib, glowing hands pressed to her forehead. "Hide it, bury it deep until she's ready." But she wasn't ready. Her power surged like a tidal wave, golden light exploding outward in all directions. Zenith soldiers and Echo Company alike were thrown to the ground. Revenant strode through the chaos unharmed, stopping mere feet from her. "Good," he said. "Feel it. Let it grow." Kale dragged herself up, coughing blood. "Carter, don't listen! He'll twist you!" Nia's body trembled as the energy crackled, her veins like molten gold. She could barely hear them over the roar in her mind. "I can help you control it," Revenant said, extending a hand. "Come with me." "Don't you dare!" Kale shouted. Nia's fingers twitched towards Revenant, then towards Kale. The golden light flared, blinding. She had to choose.
The world dissolved into gold and ash. Nia stood frozen in the heart of the battlefield, golden light pulsing from her like a second sun. Around her, the bodies of Echo Company and Zenith soldiers alike lay scattered, twitching from the aftershock of her uncontrolled power. Kale staggered to her feet, blood dripping from her temple, armor cracked and smoldering. "Carter," she gasped, "you don't know what you're doing." Revenant stood only a few paces away, black armor gleaming like liquid night, his runes pulsing a deep, menacing red. His outstretched hand didn't waver. "On the contrary," he said calmly, voice carrying over the crackle of flames, "she knows exactly what she's doing. Don't you, Nia?" Her breath came in ragged pulls. The voices in her head clashed. Kale's barked orders, her mother's whispered pleas, and Revenant's smooth, seductive tones. "You've felt the cage, haven't you?" Revenant's voice coiled like smoke in her mind. "They built it to keep you weak. I can break it. You were never meant to fight for them. You were born to rule." "No," Kale growled, limping forward. "You were born free. He'll enslave you to his war the same way Zenith enslaves his soldiers." I don't," Nia's voice cracked. Her palms burned like brands, golden veins creeping further up her neck. Then she saw it. A memory, not hers, but imprinted in her blood. Her father, face bare and human, standing in a burning city. Core soldiers gunned down in droves. Mutants in zenith colors raised their hands, the sky split with fire and lightning. And her father, Revenant, looked straight at her. "They called me a monster because I wouldn't kneel. What will they call you?" The golden energy surged to a blinding crescendo. Kale shielded her eyes, teeth clenched. "Nia," she shouted, "you're not him. You don't have to be." "Enough," Revenant snapped, his voice like a crack of thunder. "Choose, child. Come with me or perish with them." The battlefield seemed to hold its breath. Nia's arms lowered slightly. The glow around her began to twist, coiling in chaotic spirals. She took a step toward Revenant. Kale flinched. "No!"
But Nia didn't take his hand. The glow flared, brighter than ever, and with a scream that split the night, she hurled the energy outward, not at Echo Company, not at Revenant, but into the sky. The shockwave split the storm clouds, sending a pillar of light soaring high above the mountains. When it faded, Nia fell to her knees, gasping. "I'm not yours," she said hoarsely. "I'm not anyone's." Revenant's mask tilted slightly. For the first time his voice lost its smooth edge. "So be it." His runes flared blood red. The ground erupted around him as he launched forward, blade of energy materializing in his hand. Kale stepped between them, both hands blazing. "Get her out of here," she barked to Rafe, who stumbled toward Nia. But Nia didn't move. Her golden aura reignited, brighter and steadier now. She rose unsteadily to her feet, her mark blazing like a miniature sun. "I'm done running," she said. Revenant struck first. Kale met him, their blades clashing in a blast of light and sound that sent shockwaves rippling through the ruined base. Sparks and debris rained down as they traded blow for blow, Kale's precision against Revenant's raw power. But even Kale faltered under the relentless assault. Revenant's next strike sent her sprawling, her armor sparking wildly. Nia stepped forward. The energy thrumming in her blood was different now, not wild, but focused, channeled. She raised her hands, golden threads coalescing into twin blades that hummed with power. Revenant turned to her, red runes flickering. "Finally," he said, "show me what you are." Their clash lit up the night. Revenant's strikes were brutal, each one meant to kill, but Nia moved with a speed she hadn't known she possessed, parrying, countering, golden light and crimson runes tangling in a deadly dance. "You can't hold back, not against me," Nia shot back, driving her blade toward his chest. But Revenant sidestepped, grabbing her wrist. "Then why are you trembling?" He hurled her into a wall. The impact knocked the air from her lungs. She struggled to rise as Revenant closed the distance. "I could make you unstoppable," he said softly. "One word, and you'll never have to be afraid again." Nia's vision swum. She saw Echo Company lying wounded around her, Kale struggling to stand, and her mother's face, the day she had whispered, "You are stronger than either of us." She gritted her teeth. "I already am." Golden light erupted from her chest, blinding in its intensity. Revenant staggered back as tendrils of energy wrapped around his limbs, forcing him to his knees. Nia advanced, her blades humming. But she didn't strike. "I'm not your weapon, and I won't be your executioner either." She released the energy, and Revenant's restraints dissolved. He rose slowly, the runes on his armor flickering. For a moment, silence reigned. Then he laughed, a deep, unsettling sound that echoed across the battlefield. "You're stronger than I thought." He inclined his head slightly. "This isn't over." With a wave of his hand, he vanished into a swirl of crimson light. The storm broke above them, rain pouring down in sheets. Kale limped to Nia's side, her face unreadable. "You just let him go," she said. "I spared him," Nia replied. "There's a difference." Around them, Echo Company slowly rose, battered but alive. "Carter saved us," Sapphire murmured. "Or doomed us," Rafe muttered darkly. Kale's gaze lingered on Nia for a long moment. "You've made your choice," she said. "Now we all live or die with it." In the distance, the faint glow of Revenant's runes disappeared into the night. But deep in her bones, Nia knew this was only the beginning. The war for the future had already started. And this time, she wasn't running.
The infirmary smelled of antiseptic and scorched metal. Nia sat on the edge of a cot, hands folded in her lap. Her palms still glowed faintly, the golden filaments threading up her forearms, refusing to fade even after hours of decontamination.
Across the room, Kyle stood rigid in her cracked armor, golden eyes fixed on the holographic map flickering above the console. Red markers bloomed across it like a spreading disease. Zenith Syndicate strongholds, patrols, and staging points. "This isn't just retaliation," Sapphire said quietly, leaning against the wall with her shield emitter clutched to her chest. "They're mobilizing for war." "Because of me," Nia murmured. Kyle's head turned sharply. "No, because of him. Revenant has been preparing for years. Your choice only accelerated his timetable." The door hissed open, and Rafe limped in, his shoulder wrapped in a glowing nano-bandage. He shot Nia a glare that could have scorched steel. "Let's stop pretending she's not the reason we're in this mess," he growled. "We all saw what she did out there. That wasn't training. That was a damn supernova about to fry us all." "Enough, Rafe," Kyle snapped. But he didn't stop. "She's a liability. You think Revenant won't use their blood connection to turn her? You think she can control whatever the hell that thing is inside her?" He jabbed a finger at Nia. "One slip and we all burn." Nia rose to her feet, fists clenched. "I didn't ask for any of this." "Neither did the rest of us," Rafe shot back. "But we weren't born with the power to wipe out entire squads by accident." The air between them shimmered faintly. Golden sparks danced across Nia's knuckles. The humming in her veins was louder now, a constant presence like a second heartbeat. Kyle stepped between them. "This isn't helping. Rafe, get to the armory. Sapphire, Azure, prep the mechs. We're mobilizing." "Mobilizing?" Nia asked. Kyle's expression hardened. "We've received orders from High Command. Zenith Syndicate's primary weapons factory is deep in the ruins of Arkan City. We're to lead the strike force, destroy their supply lines, cripple their war machine." Outside, the base roared to life. Dropships hummed on the tarmac, mech frames powered up with thunderous growls, and squads of core soldiers streamed toward loading bays. Nia followed Kyle up the gantry, her stomach twisting. "You're taking me?" Kyle didn't look back. "If I leave you here, Zenith will find you. You're safer in my sight." "Rafe doesn't think so. Rafe doesn't command Echo Company." Kyle's tone brooked no argument. The strike force departed at dawn. Nia sat strapped into her seat, the hum of the dropship engines matching the hum in her blood. Sapphire sat across from her, silent but not hostile. Rafe kept his distance, checking and rechecking his weapon. Kyle stood at the front, helmet under one arm, gaze fixed ahead. "Intel says Arkan City is crawling with Zenith's elite. Revenant might even be there in person." She glanced at Nia. "You're to stay with me at all times. If your power flares, you tell me immediately. Understood?" "Yes, ma'am." But even as she said it, the golden light in her veins pulsed hotter, stronger. The descent into Arkan City was a nightmare. Zenith anti-air fire streaked up from the ruins, clipping 2 dropships before they even touched down. Echo Company disembarked under a storm of plasma bolts, mech units returning fire as drones swarmed overhead. "Move! Move!" Kyle barked, cutting down 2 Zenith soldiers with blades of golden light. Nia ran beside her, her own rifle spitting plasma until it overheated. But every shot felt strange now, like her body was fighting the weapon's limitations. The golden hum in her chest wanted out, wanted to burn everything in its path. They reached the factory gates. Azure and Rafe planted charges on the blast doors, while Sapphire raised her shield against incoming fire. "Carter!" Kyle shouted. "Help Sapphire hold the line!" Nia raised her hands, golden energy arcing between her fingers. With a thought, she sent a wave of light crashing into the approaching Zenith squad. The ground trembled, and their advance faltered. But the power didn't stop flowing. It surged higher, hotter, until her vision blurred and she felt her body lifting inches off the ground. "Nia!" Sapphire called. "Pull it back!" I can't!" The golden aura erupted outward in a dome, vaporizing a half-dozen Zenith drones. But it didn't distinguish friend from foe. Kyle and Sapphire were hurled backward, armor sparking. Through the chaos, a crimson glow flickered. Revenant stepped out of the smoke, his mask cracked, but his presence unshaken. "You feel it now, don't you? The cage breaking."
Kyle dragged herself upright, blood running down her cheek. "Stay back, Carter!" But Nia couldn't move. Her body felt like it was on fire from the inside out. Her mark pulsed, the golden light so bright it hurt. Revenant raised a hand. "Stop fighting it. Join me. You're ascending, Nia. Become what you were meant to be." Kyle lunged, but Revenant caught her strike with ease, tossing her aside like a rag doll. Nia's scream split the air as the golden energy consumed her. Her eyes blazed white. Her feet left the ground, and for a moment, all of Arkan City seemed to hold its breath.
The city burned. Skyscrapers, once monuments to human ambition, now stood as hollowed-out carcasses wreathed in smoke and flame. Zenith Syndicate's weapons factory loomed in the distance, its silhouette a jagged maw swallowing the sky. And at the center of it all floated Nia. Her body was wreathed in molten gold. Tendrils of light writhed around her like living serpents, each pulse sending shockwaves through the ruined streets. Her eyes glowed white-hot, devoid of pupils or irises, and her feet no longer touched the ground. Below, Kale watched in grim silence, blood dripping from a gash above her brow. "She's gone," Rafe growled, gripping his rifle. "That's not Nia anymore. That's a goddamn bomb waiting to go off." "No," Kale said sharply. "She's still in there." "You sure about that?" Sapphire's voice trembled as she stared at Nia's ascended form, because the last shockwave nearly flattened half the squad. Above them, Revenant stood atop a crumbling tower, crimson runes glowing brighter than ever. "She's magnificent," he murmured, his voice carrying easily through the ruined streets. "Do you see it now, Kale? You never could cage the blood of gods." "She's not your weapon," Kale shouted back. "She's already is." Revenant raised his hand and Nia's head jerked toward him as if pulled by an invisible thread. "Nia!" Kale bellowed. "Fight him! You're stronger than this!" For a heartbeat, the golden glow around Nia flickered. Her lips parted in a soundless gasp. But then, Revenant's voice slithered into her mind. "Let go. No more fear. No more pain. Only power." The golden tendrils flared, lashing out in all directions. A shockwave tore through the streets, toppling walls and sending soldiers, both friend and foe alike, flying. Kale gritted her teeth. "Echo Company, focus fire on Revenant. Keep him off her." Azure Paredes raised his arms, crackling bolts of electricity streaking toward Revenant. Sapphire deployed her shield to deflect falling debris, while Rafe hurled a column of flame up the tower. Revenant barely flinched, his crimson runes absorbing the assault. "You're all insects," he said. Sweeping his hand, a wave of red energy surged out, knocking the squad off their feet. Kale coughed, forcing herself upright. She could feel the air growing hotter, thicker. Nia's ascended form was destabilizing, her power no longer contained by flesh and bone. If she lost control completely, Arkan City wouldn't just burn, it would be erased. Kale switched comm channels. "Command, this is Echo 1. I need a containment field. Priority 1. Send orbital support if you have to." The reply crackled back. "Negative Echo 1. The target is beyond containment. Authorization granted for neutralization." Kale's stomach turned to ice. She looked at Nia again, her rookie, her stray, her mistake. And she made a choice. "Echo Company, hold your fire." "What?" Rafe shouted. "Kale, she's about to vaporize the whole grid." "Hold your fire," Kale snapped. She unclipped her helmet and dropped it, her golden eyes locking onto Nia's blinding white gaze. "Nia," she said softly, though the city quaked around them. "You are not a weapon. You are not a monster. You're a soldier. You're Echo." The golden tendrils writhed violently, arcs of energy tearing apart the pavement. But for a fraction of a second, Nia's lips moved. "Echo." Revenant's voice thundered across the ruins. "Don't listen to her. They'll fear you, cage you, destroy you like they did me. Come with me, and no one will ever command you again."
"Don't do it," Kale shouted. "You're not him. You don't have to choose his war." The golden light pulsed, now flickering erratically. Cracks appeared along Nia's arms and neck as if her own skin couldn't contain the energy. Her scream tore through the city, a sound of pain and defiance mingled. Kale took a step forward, unarmed, unshielded. "I know you're scared. I was too my first time ascending. But fear doesn't own you. You own it. Now take it back." The light began to shrink inward, coiling tighter around Nia's body. Revenant cursed, leaping from the tower in a blur of red, but Rafe intercepted him midair with a roaring inferno, forcing him to deflect. "Kale, she's coming down!" Sapphire yelled. With a final blinding flash, the golden aura collapsed into Nia's chest. Her body fell from the air like a meteor. Kale sprinted and caught her, the impact driving both of them to the cracked pavement. Silence followed. The fires around them crackled, the distant rumble of Zenith forces retreating echoing through the ruins. Kale cradled Nia's limp form, golden veins still faintly glowing under her skin. "She's alive," Kale said, relief warred with exhaustion in her voice. Revenant landed a few meters away, his mask cracked nearly in two. "This isn't over," he said coldly. "You've delayed the inevitable, nothing more." Kale stood, shielding Nia with her body. "Stay down," Rafe growled, flames dancing in his palms. But Revenant only gave a slight nod, to Nia, not them, before vanishing in a swirl of crimson light. Back at base, Nia lay unconscious in a containment field. Medical scanners couldn't read her vitals properly. The energy signatures were evolving. "She stabilized?" Sapphire asked. "For now," Kale said, but her golden eyes never left Nia's glowing mark. In the command room, a Corps General's hologram flickered to life. "You've done well, Kale, but Carter is a liability now. If she can't be contained, she must be eliminated." Kale's jaw tightened. "She's not a liability. She's the future."
The first thing Nia noticed was the silence. No engines humming, no boots pounding on metal floors, no distant chatter from squad mates, only the sterile hiss of pressurized air and the faint crackle of energy shielding. She opened her eyes to blinding white lights. The ceiling was smooth, seamless, no rivets or joints, just a luminous surface that felt coldly indifferent. Slowly, she sat up. A containment field hummed faintly around her, golden energy arcing across its translucent surface like a caged storm. "How are you feeling?" Kale's voice. Calm, controlled, but beneath it, Nia sensed something taut and brittle, like a wire on the verge of snapping. Kale stood outside the field, arms crossed, still wearing her battered armor. Her golden eyes reflected the energy arcs as if she was part of the cage itself. Where am I?" Nia croaked. "You're safe. For now." "That's not an answer." Kale exhaled slowly. "After Arkan City, Command ordered you into confinement. They don't know what to make of you. Neither do I." "I saved us," Nia said, her voice rising. "I stopped him." "You almost destroyed half the strike force in the process, and if Revenant hadn't retreated, I'm not sure which side you would have chosen." Nia flinched as if struck. I made my choice," she whispered. Kale's expression softened slightly, but her posture didn't. "Did you? Or was it just instinct? You're changing, Carter. The cage your father put around your power is gone. Whatever you become next, it's not something I can train you for." "Then let me out. I'll figure it out." "Not yet. Until Command decides, you stay here." The lights flickered suddenly. Kale's head snapped toward the door as a deep rumble echoed through the base. "Kale to Command, report." Static answered her, then a panicked voice broke through. "Multiple breaches, Zenith forces incoming, Revenant is leading them, he's here!" Kale cursed under her breath. "Stay put," she told Nia. "Do not attempt to break the field." "I can help."
Nia insisted. "Let me fight." "You're not stable. You'll be more dangerous to us than them." Kale was already moving, slamming her helmet on as the door hissed shut behind her. The alarms blared seconds later. Nia rose to her feet, pacing the confines of her cage. Her reflection in the shimmering field looked almost alien, golden veins still faintly glowing, her eyes flickering with light each time her heart pounded. She pressed her hands to the barrier. The hum intensified. Sparks danced across her palms. "Not stable," she muttered bitterly. "Not safe. That's all they see." Another explosion rocked the base. Dust rained from the ceiling. She saw flashes through the observation window. Zenith drones pouring into the corridors. Echo Company fighting desperately to hold the lines. And then she saw him. Revenant. He strode through smoke and fire like a god of war, his crimson runes blazing, cutting down soldiers with casual precision. His voice carried even through the reinforced walls. "Nia, I'm here for you. You don't belong to them. You never did." Her fingers dug into the energy field. "No," she whispered. But a part of her, deep, buried, insidious, ached to step into the fire and join him. The door to the containment chamber burst open. Rafe stumbled in, bloodied but alive, dragging Sapphire with one arm. "She's breaching the outer level," he yelled to Nia, ignoring the barrier. "Who's breaching?" Nia demanded. "Your daddy dearest, and when he gets here, you think he's going to ask nicely?" Sapphire coughed, clutching her side. "Kale, she's holding the central corridor, but she's outnumbered." Nia slammed her fist against the barrier. "Let me out. I can stop him." "No chance," Rafe said, activating the room's fail-safe locks. "Kale ordered you to stay put. You're a nuclear option we can't afford." The walls shook violently. A section of the ceiling caved in, and Revenant's glowing eyes appeared through the dust and debris. "So much resistance," he murmured, stepping inside. "For nothing." Rafe raised his rifle. "Stay back!" Revenant didn't slow. One swipe of his crimson blade sent Rafe crashing into the far wall. Sapphire screamed as she fired a barrage of plasma rounds, each one deflected effortlessly. Finally, Revenant stopped before the containment field. He tilted his head at Nia. "You've seen enough to know the truth. They'll never trust you, not with what you are." "Shut up," Nia hissed. "Even now they cage you, fear you." His hand brushed the barrier, and it fizzled where his crimson runes touched gold. "But I don't. I'll show you what you're meant to be." A voice crackled over the intercom. "This is Kale. Carter, don't listen. Hold him off. Echo, fall back to—" The transmission cut in static as another explosion shook the chamber. Revenant pressed harder, and the containment field began to warp and groan. Nia's hands trembled. If she stayed put, Kale and the others would likely die. But if she stepped out— "Choose," Revenant said simply. Golden light flared in her veins, burning hotter than ever. The hum became a roar, her heartbeat pounding in her skull. She closed her eyes. Echo Company caging her. Revenant freeing her. Kale trusting her. Rafe fearing her. When her eyes opened again, they glowed like twin suns. She raised her hand and shattered the containment field.
The moment Nia's hand shattered the containment field, golden light exploded outward like a newborn star. Revenant took a deliberate step back, crimson runes pulsing brighter in answer. His mask tilted slightly, as if smiling. "Good," he murmured. "You've taken your first step." But Nia didn't move toward him. Her breathing came in harsh pulls, her arms trembling as the golden veins raced across her skin, searing through her combat uniform. The energy wasn't wild this time. It felt precise, sharp, like a blade unsheathed. "I didn't do it for you," she said through gritted teeth. Revenant's mask inclined. "You say that now."
He turned toward the blown-out door, where Rafe lay groaning and Sapphire struggled to sit up. "They'll never forgive you for this," he added, voice low. "But I will." Nia's fingers twitched. She could feel the heat of her power coiling tighter, ready to strike. "Get out," she warned. Revenant's chuckle echoed like distant thunder. "I'll be waiting." And with a swirl of crimson energy, he was gone. The base groaned as another blast rocked its foundations. Emergency lights flickered overhead, bathing everything in sickly red. "Nia," Sapphire coughed, trying to rise. Nia knelt beside her, a golden aura forming instinctively around her hand as she placed it on Sapphire's wound. The light sank into flesh, knitting torn tissue and sealing the bleeding. Sapphire stared at her in shock. You healed me." "I'm sorry I broke the field, but I couldn't stay in there while Kale is out there fighting alone." Rafe groaned from across the room. "Yeah, that's what a ticking bomb says before it goes off." Nia helped him up anyway, ignoring his scowl. "You need to get to the evac pods." "And you?" Sapphire asked. Nia's jaw clenched. "I'm going to find Kale." The hallways were chaos incarnate. Corp soldiers clashed with Zenith's elite units in close quarters, plasma bolts painting the walls in streaks of fire. Drones screeched overhead, their rotary cannons chewing through steel plating. Nia moved like a golden specter, her mere presence causing enemies to falter. She raised her hand, sending a pulse of energy down the corridor that slammed a squad of Zenith troopers into the walls. But the energy didn't kill them, it merely disarmed and immobilized. "I'm not him," she whispered under her breath, more to herself than anyone. She found Kale in the central corridor, standing atop a pile of debris, her golden blades flickering weakly. She was surrounded. 5 Zenith elites advanced slowly, rifles raised, and behind them loomed Revenant's lieutenant, a towering figure clad in obsidian armor, wielding twin energy axes. Kale's breathing was ragged, her armor cracked and bleeding light from too many hits. Nia didn't hesitate. She leapt forward, golden energy exploding from her feet. The first Zenith elite didn't even see her coming. Her glowing fist sent him crashing into the ceiling. The second she disarmed with a whip of energy, his rifle clattering to the floor before she knocked him unconscious. Kale looked up, surprise flashing in her golden eyes. "Carter!" "Stay down," Nia said, stepping in front of her. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," Nia shot back. "But here we are." The lieutenant roared and charged. Nia met him head-on, her golden blades forming in her hands just as his axes came down. The impact sent shockwaves down the corridor, cracked spiderwebbing across the walls. He swung again, but Nia was faster. She ducked, then drove a knee glowing with energy into his chest plate, sending him skidding backward. Kale tried to rise. "Carter, don't kill him." "I'm not going to." The lieutenant swung wildly, but Nia caught both axes in a cross of golden light. Her eyes blazed white as she spoke. "You don't have to die for him. Leave now." The lieutenant hesitated. He'd never seen this kind of power, not even in Revenant. And then he retreated, vanishing in a ripple of red. The remaining Zenith troops fled. For a moment there was silence, broken only by the sound of Kale's labored breathing. "You're different," Kale said. "I'm in control," Nia replied, her voice steady despite the raging energy coursing through her veins. Kale tried to smile. "You've grown up fast." But the respite was short-lived. Revenant's voice boomed through the base's comm system. "Nia, you can feel it, can't you? The hunger, the power. They'll never accept you no matter how many times you save them." His laughter echoed as emergency sirens wailed. "Echo Company, this is Kale," she rasped into her comm. "Fall back to Sector Delta. Prepare for full evac." "Where's Carter?" Command demanded. "She's with me." Kale's gaze didn't leave Nia. "And she's the only reason we're still alive." Nia extended her hand to Kale. "Can you walk?" She gripped it, pulling herself upright. Together they made their way toward the evac bay, golden and amber lights flickering in their wake. But deep down, Nia felt it. The energy inside her wasn't settling. It was evolving again. Each pulse stronger,
each wave more alien. She didn't know how long she could hold it back. And worse, she didn't know if she wanted to.
The base was dying. Smoke curled from shattered walls, ceiling panels groaned, buckling as fires raged through the ventilation shafts. Distant explosions pounded like war drums, each one sending shockwaves that rattled the floor beneath Nia's boots. She tightened her grip on Kale's arm, helping her limp forward. "Just a little further," Nia said, voice calm despite the rising hum in her veins. Kale grimaced, blood trailing down her neck, but her golden eyes burned with stubborn fire. "You shouldn't be here, Carter. Not for me." "I'm not leaving you," Nia replied. "Even if it means burning everything else?" The question cut deeper than any blade. Ahead, the evac bay doors were in sight, sealed tight, red lights flashing as Corps engineers worked frantically to unlock them. Beyond those doors waited the last dropships, the only way out before the base collapsed. But between them and safety stood Revenant. He emerged from a swirling cloud of ash, his crimson runes glowing like molten veins beneath cracked armor. The crimson glow painted his mask like a grinning skull. "So predictable," he said softly. "Always running, always afraid of what you are." "I'm not afraid," Nia said. "Not of you." "Lies," Revenant whispered, tilting his head. "You feel it, the hunger in your blood, the song in your bones. You're ascended, Nia, just like me. I'm not like you." "Really?" His voice grew colder. "You broke their cage. You're wielding power no human can touch. You saved your precious captain not because you're Echo, but because you're a god walking among mortals. You can't unmake what you've become." The evac bay doors began to open behind Revenant. Corps engineers ushered wounded comrades aboard the waiting ships, their faces pale with terror as they saw Nia's golden glow clashing against Revenant's crimson. Kale tried to step forward. "Don't," she croaked. "He wants you angry, wants you to lose control." Nia's jaw clenched. Too late. Revenant raised a hand and sent a wave of crimson energy crashing down the corridor. Nia raised her own, golden light erupting into a dome that caught the attack and sent it shattering like glass. The shockwave hurled debris in every direction, sparking fires and toppling beams. "Good," Revenant said. "You're learning." He lunged. His crimson blade slashed down, but Nia caught it with crossed arms blazing gold. Sparks and energy danced between them as the sheer force of impact sent tremors through the floor. She countered with a burst of light, forcing Revenant back 2 steps. "Carter, the base won't hold much longer," Kale yelled. "Fall back! Leave him!" "I can't," Nia said through gritted teeth. "If I run, he'll keep coming. He'll never stop." Revenant's laughter echoed like a funeral bell. "You finally understand." He struck again, faster than before. His blade hummed with killing intent, but Nia ducked under it and drove her fist into his chest plate. The golden energy detonated on impact, sending Revenant crashing through a steel support column. But he rose immediately, unshaken. "Stronger," he said approvingly, "but you still hold back." "I'm not here to kill you," Nia spat. "I'm here to end this." They clashed again and again. Golden and crimson lights flickered like dueling suns, filling the collapsing corridor with searing brilliance. Every strike shook the foundation of the base. Every counter sent waves of heat and force that blistered paint and shattered glass. Kale staggered back, watching helplessly. In Nia's movements, she saw both mastery and raw chaos. The rookie she'd once trained was gone. What stood before her now was something else, something barely human. And Revenant, he wasn't even trying to kill her. He was testing her. Nia drove him back a dozen paces, her golden blade slamming into his defenses. "Why are you holding back?" she demanded. "Because I don't need to win," Revenant said calmly. "I only need you to break." He surged forward suddenly, faster than Nia could react. His hand closed around her throat, crimson energy flaring. "You feel it, don't you? The joy of destruction, the thrill of power unchecked. They'll never forgive you for this.
Not Kale, not Echo, not anyone. I'm not like you, Nia gasped, her golden aura flaring wildly. Yes, you are, and deep down, you know I'm right. Kale's voice cut through the roar. Nia, you're more than your blood. You're more than him. Fight! Something inside Nia snapped, not from anger, but from clarity. She unleashed everything. Her golden light flared so brilliantly it blinded the corridor. The energy surged through Revenant's grip, burning his runes like acid. He screamed and staggered back, clutching his arm as cracks spread across his mask. Nia didn't stop. She stepped forward, energy coalescing into a massive golden spear. You don't own me, she said, her voice resonating with power, and she hurled the spear. The impact detonated like a miniature sun. The corridor crumpled around Revenant as he was hurled through wall after wall, finally disappearing in a cascade of rubble. Silence. Nia stood trembling, her golden aura shrinking back into her veins. Kale staggered forward. You stopped him. Kale's voice broke. For now, Nia whispered. She turned to Kale, eyes still faintly glowing. But he's right about one thing. I'm not the same girl you trained. The evac sirens blared louder. Let's go, before this whole place comes down. Together, they stumbled into the evac bay, the last dropship lifting off as the base began to collapse in earnest. Through the viewport, Nia watched the base vanish into fire and ash. And in that burning ruin, she swore she saw a flicker of crimson light.
The cold hit harder on the outskirts. Arkan Base Alpha 9 was nothing like the sprawling fortress Echo Company had called home. It was a skeleton of a facility, clinging to the edge of a frozen wasteland, its walls patched with makeshift plating, its automated defenses barely functional. But it was all they had left. Nia sat alone in the observation chamber. Her golden eyes stared through frosted glass at the desolate horizon, where storms brewed endlessly. She could still feel the energy thrumming beneath her skin. Each heartbeat sent faint ripples of golden light down her arms, refusing to fully dim. She clenched her fists. Revenant's voice lingered. You can't unmake what you've become. The door hissed open. Kale entered, her limp more pronounced now, an arm in the sling. Her golden gaze scanned the room before settling on Nia. Command's here, she said flatly. They're not happy. They never are, Nia replied, without turning. Kale stepped closer. This isn't like before. They've convened a tribunal, full high command. You'll have to answer for what happened at Echo Base. Nia's jaw tightened. I saved us, and leveled half the facility in the process. Kale sighed, sitting across from her. You've made powerful enemies, Carter. Some of them don't see a soldier anymore. They see a weapon they can't control. The tribunal chamber was sterile, suffocating. Holographic projections of high command flickered to life around Nia. Cold, calculating eyes bored down on her. Generals, strategists, corporate liaisons. Kale stood by her side, silent and unreadable. General Maddox's voice boomed. Carter Nia, you stand accused of unauthorized deployment of ascended abilities, breach of containment protocols, and destruction of classified assets. Nia met his gaze unflinching. I also stopped Revenant. For now, Maddox snapped. We've received reports he survived. Admiral Vera leaned forward, her expression sharp as a blade. Explain why we shouldn't consider you as much a threat as him. Because I'm here, Nia said. He offered me a place at his side. I refused. Did you refuse, or did you simply delay your inevitable defection? Kale stepped forward. She risked everything to save Echo Company. Without her, none of us would be alive. That's rich coming from you, Captain. Your record is riddled with breaches of protocol ever since you took Carter under your wing. Your judgment is compromised. The debate spiraled. Voices rose, accusations flew. Nia stood motionless as they dissected her existence like a tactical problem, asset or threat, weapon or liability. Finally, she spoke. You're all so afraid, she said softly, but her voice carried.
Afraid of what I am, afraid of what I might become. But none of you seem to ask what you've turned me into." The chamber fell silent. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to be ascended. You made me. You caged me. And when the cage broke, you blamed me for surviving." Vera's lips pressed into a thin line. "What are you saying, Carter?" "I'm saying," Nia said, her eyes glowing faintly, "you can't have it both ways. If I'm your weapon, then point me at Revenant and let me end this. If I'm a threat, pull the trigger yourselves." Back in the observation deck, Kale rubbed her temples. "You just declared war on command, Carter." "They wanted honesty," Nia replied. "I gave it to them." Kale's comm buzzed. "Captain, you're needed in tactical. Revenant just hit Outpost Theta. It's gone." Kale's expression darkened. "Prepare for full mobilization," she ordered. "Wait," Nia stood, her golden aura flickering to life. "Let me lead the strike." "You're not cleared." "I'm the only one who can stop him. You know it." Kale hesitated. She saw again the corridor at Echo Base, golden and crimson clashing like gods at war. She saw Revenant retreating for the first time. Finally, she nodded. "Fine, but you follow my orders, to the letter." Nia gave a faint smile. "Yes, Captain." Far away, on the scorched remains of Outpost Theta, Revenant stood among the wreckage. Crimson energy swirled in his hand as he stared at a fragment of Nia's golden glow embedded in a destroyed turret. "She's changing," he murmured, "faster than I anticipated." Behind him, his lieutenants knelt. "Orders, sir." Revenant's cracked mask reflected faint starlight. "Begin the final phase. Prepare the Omega Spire. Bring her to me, alive if possible, broken if necessary."
The Omega Spire loomed like a black fang piercing the clouds. Lightning clawed across its jagged surface, illuminating tiers of defense platforms bristling with weaponry. Zenith banners, red streaks carved into obsidian metal, flapped violently in the storm. Inside the Echo dropship, Nia felt the hum of engines beneath her boots. She stood at the head of the cabin, golden light faint in her veins, as her squad prepared their gear. Kyle sat to her right, checking the charge on her rifles. Rafe sat opposite, his expression unreadable. "Final approach in 90 seconds, the pilot barked over comms. Kyle glanced at Nia. "You're sure about this?" "No," Nia admitted, "but I know we can't let him finish whatever he's building in there. If the Omega Spire goes active, it's over for all of us." Kyle's jaw tightened. "Stay in control, Carter. You lose it in there, and you'll give him exactly what he wants." "I know." Nia's golden eyes hardened. "That's why we end this tonight." As the dropships descended, Zenith's defenses screamed to life. Anti-air batteries spat streams of plasma, forcing the Echo pilots into evasive maneuvers. Fighters streaked overhead in tight formations, exchanging fire with Echo's escort craft. "Hold on!" the pilot shouted as a plasma bolt ripped through the aft section of the ship. The cabin jolted violently. Rafe cursed, gripping the ceiling straps. "We're going in hot!" The bay doors blasted open midair. "Move! Move! Move!" Kyle ordered as the team rappelled onto the Omega Spire's outer platform amid hissing steam and falling debris. The moment their boots hit metal, Zenith troops swarmed from every direction. Sleek black armor, crimson visors glowing in the storm. Nia was first into the fray. Her golden aura flared like a beacon as she deflected incoming fire, energy pulses ricocheting harmlessly off her shield. She countered with a sweeping blast of light, scattering the first wave of attackers like ragdolls. Behind her, Echo soldiers poured onto the platform, forming firing lines as Kyle barked orders. "Suppressing fire! Push forward!" Rafe stuck close to Nia, his rifle a constant staccato in the chaos. "You're drawing all their heat!" he shouted. That's the idea, Nia said grimly. Every Zenith trooper that focused on her was one less firing on Echo Company. But the closer they got to the Spire's core, the thicker the resistance became. Inside, the corridors were a labyrinth of black alloy and seething red light. Zenith's elite guard, the Revenants, waited for them. Hulking figures, each clad in powered exosuits etched with crimson sigils. "Carter, take point," Kyle ordered. Nia nodded and surged ahead, her golden blades materializing in each hand. The first Revenant swung an energy halberd at her head. She ducked, sliced upward, and sent his weapon clattering down the corridor. A second charged from her flank, but she unleashed a wave of energy that hurled him into a wall hard enough to dent the alloy. Echo pressed forward, step by bloody step. "Charges planted," Sapphire called from the rear. "We can collapse this section if we're overrun." "Hold them for 5 more minutes," Kyle replied. But then it hit her. A voice, not over comms, not from any speaker, but deep in her mind. Nia. She froze mid-strike as Revenant's words slithered through her thoughts. "I see you. I feel you. You're close." Her grip tightened on her blades. "Stay out of my head." "You don't want me gone," Revenant murmured. "You came here because you know this is where you belong." "Shut up," Nia snarled aloud, blasting another Revenant into molten fragments. Rafe stared. "Who the hell are you talking to?" He snapped. "Focus on the mission." At the heart of the spire, the chamber yawned wide. A massive structure rose from the center, a pulsating crystalline core encased in crimson energy. Arcane runes spiraled along its surface, feeding streams of light upward into the storm outside. Revenant stood before it, waiting. His cracked mask reflected the golden light from Nia's aura as she entered the chamber. "You came," he said simply. "End of the road," Nia replied, her voice low but steady. "For you," Revenant agreed, "but not for me. I told you this was never about war. It's about what comes after." He gestured to the core. "The Omega Spire will birth a new age, one where ascended like us will rule, free from their chains. Join me, Nia, or watch your precious Echo burn with the rest." Kyle and the others burst into the chamber behind her, weapons raised. "Carter!" "Don't listen!" But Revenant raised a hand. Crimson energy rippled outward, forming a barrier that locked Nia and himself inside the core chamber. "Just us now," he said. The fight began instantly. Revenant moved with inhuman speed, his crimson blade clashing against Nia's twin golden ones at the heart of the spire. Sparks erupted with each strike, their duel a storm of light and fury. "Every time you use your power, you step closer to me," Revenant taunted, as he countered a flurry of strikes. "I'm nothing like you," Nia gritted out, driving him back with a blinding burst. But Revenant was relentless. He caught her by the wrist, twisting her blade aside, and slammed her into the crystalline core. "Stop denying yourself," he roared. "You can't save them. They will never accept you. But I will." Nia's golden light flared wildly, burning away his grip. "I don't need your acceptance." Her voice resonated with a power she barely recognized. "I don't need anyone's." She unleashed everything. A sphere of golden energy expanded outward, cracking Revenant's armor and sending him hurtling across the chamber. The crystalline core began to fracture under the sheer force. Outside the barrier, Kyle screamed over comms. "Carter, get out of there! The spire's destabilizing!" But Nia didn't hear her. She turned, golden light flickering weakly as exhaustion overtook her. And then she ran.
The Omega Spire was gone. From orbit, it looked like a blackened crater carved into the planet's surface, still glowing faintly from molten rock and shattered alloy. Smoke rose in thick spirals that blotted out the stars. On board the evac carrier, Resolute, Nia sat alone in the medbay. The golden glow that had once flared so fiercely in her veins was now just a faint shimmer beneath her skin, like embers of a dying fire. She stared at her hands, flexing them slowly. They trembled, not from fatigue, but from everything she'd done, and everything she might still be. The door slid open with a hiss. Kael stepped inside, her arm still in a sling, her uniform scorched and torn. She didn't speak at first, just stood there watching Nia like someone trying to decide whether the person in front of them was still the same. Finally, she sat opposite her. "You're alive," Kael said softly. "So are you," Nia replied. "Barely." Kael's lips twitched in the ghost of a smile. Silence stretched between them. Then Kael asked the question Nia had been dreading. "Is he dead?" Nia hesitated. I don't know. His body disintegrated, but something tells me he's not finished." Kael's jaw tightened. "Then neither are we." Outside the medbay, the Resolute's corridors buzzed with activity. Soldiers limped through smoke-stained halls, engineers patched ruptured systems. And everywhere Nia went, she felt their eyes on her. Some stared in awe, some with barely masked fear. Whispers followed her like shadows. "That's her, the one who killed Revenant. She saved us. She's dangerous." 2 days later, High Command summoned her to a secure holobriefing. The room was dark, lit only by flickering projections of Command's most powerful leaders. General Maddox spoke first, his tone clipped and cold. "You've done what no one else could, Carter. Revenant is neutralized. Zenith forces are in disarray. The war is over. For now." Admiral Vera cut in, her gaze sharp. "But your actions have consequences. Billions watched you in action. Footage of your abilities has gone viral across the core worlds. Half the population is hailing you as a hero. The other half—" She let the sentence hang. "Wants me contained," Nia finished for her. "Do you blame them?" Maddox asked bluntly. "You wield power we can't control. Revenant saw it in you. So do we. What's to stop you from going rogue?" "I've had plenty of chances," Nia said evenly. "I didn't take them." "For now," Maddox countered. Kael, seated beside her, slammed her good hand on the table. "She's the reason any of us are still breathing. Don't you dare talk about her like she's a threat." "She's more than a soldier," Vera said. "She's a symbol now, to everyone." The debate raged on for hours. In the end, High Command made their decision. "You are not to engage in any further combat operations without direct authorization," Maddox ordered. "You will submit to regular evaluations and containment protocols." "And if I refuse?" Nia asked quietly. The silence that followed spoke volumes. Back in her quarters, Nia stared at her reflection. The golden shimmer in her eyes was still there, faint but unyielding. Kael stood in the doorway. "They're afraid of you," Nia said. "I know." "So am I." Kael's voice cracked slightly. "But I'm also proud. You stood when the rest of us couldn't." Nia turned. "I'm not sure I can keep standing." Kael stepped closer, placing her hand gently on Nia's shoulder. "Then let us carry you for a while. You don't have to fight alone anymore." Outside, on a dozen core worlds, protests erupted. Holoscreens blared headlines. Nia Carter, savior or threat. The last mutant, humanity's next step or its doom. High Command split over Carter's fate. Supporters waved banners with her glowing silhouette. Opponents carried signs calling her a weapon in human skin. The universe was divided. Far from the core, deep in the shadows of a derelict Zenith vessel drifting through a gas giant's rings, a faint crimson light flickered to life. Revenant's voice whispered through the dark, "Soon." And on the Resolute, Nia closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks,
She allowed herself to breathe, not as a soldier, not as a mutant, but as a woman standing on the edge of everything. Her war wasn't over, but she was ready for whatever came next.